southeast. Bridge nav. One step 50 meters south. Thank you. And this will be a test of patience.
You'll have to.
It takes like 5 to 10 minutes for the thing to move.
I'll have to tilt down as I come on there, probably.
Yep. Tilting down.
A half knot moves. That
It's 0.3.
that'll help if you speed them up a little.
I can, but then we won't be able to stop if as easily if we're heading into something. So as long as everyone's prepared to come up.
At least to get going.
Roger
from
that.
what I'm hearing, we're not stopping.
Bridge nav. Increase speed of this move to 0.5. Thank you.
So as we are coming into rocky features, we will be looking for octopus and then anything else of interest, but octopus are our priority. And I think we have another question that came in from Justin. It was, how old could that coral be that you're harvesting? So I don't know the growth rates of that specific coral, but there have been several aging studies for other species of coral, including bamboo corals and bubblegum corals, and they could be hundreds of years old and up to 1,000 years old for some. So the jury is still out for many of the species down here, but they're very slow growing. That was a relatively small coral, but it still could be, it could be up to 100 years old. We just don't know.
For those of you just joining us, we are in Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary on the southwest flank or foothills of Davidson Seamount. We are at 3,085 meters, so that's about 2 miles below the sea surface. And the temperature is 1.6 degrees Celsius, so just a little bit above freezing. On this dive, we are primarily doing exploration. We're not doing set transects. We are, as Erica mentioned, looking for more areas that octopus may be brooding. This is a first dive in this area, so these rocks that we are seeing have not been seen before. So we do have our chat line open. We've had a couple of questions so far, but please feel free on the Nautilus Live webpage. You can type in your questions, comments. Please share where you're listening from. We love to hear from you. We've been seeing some really cool shapes, rock shapes. This is all deposited from a volcano. It's now extinct. Davidson Seamount was a volcano. So we've been seeing some really beautiful, almost perfectly round boulders and really rounded volcanic shapes.
Tonight, Rennie is our navigator, and I'm wondering if this slope is more surprising than what the map is showing, or it's just offset.
I think that, yeah, this local area is certainly more sheer, but I can just give you a quick, let me just call in one more move and I'll describe a bit more. I'm going to go to 120.
Right.
Bridge nav. Step
Set the what?
50 meters 120. Thank you.
I don't know. Is it fine by you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
So if you take a look at HIPAC right now, the which is I think what we have up on the quad. Is that on channel 3?
Yes.
Yeah, so these
Yes.
are, this is backscatter, and these squares are 20 to 25 meters wide. Yeah, 20 meters wide. So what we actually have for bathymetry resolution is 4 of these together. So we have 40 by 40 meter squares. So that's the kind of the pixels that we're dealing with, but we have some ways of interpolating it so it looks a bit better than it does, and it actually is here. And then we've put 10-meter vertical contours using that 40-meter data. And 40-meter data at 3,000 meters is pretty good until you get an AUV for shipboard multi-beam. So what we're dealing with is kind of like what you were saying is like, oh, you know, we're seeing a sheerer slope than we expect. I'm not really surprised by that, given kind of the variance that could happen within a 40-meter cell. We are dealing with a secondary issue though, which is our contours being slightly offset, but not really unworkable. So that paired with, you know, navigation, subsurface navigation being more difficult and more offset at depth, depths such as these, we're kind of going a lot by what's going on our sonars and cameras, and kind of trying to navigate off that. And then the last and most difficult thing is that it takes a while for the ship to move. So you're kind of working in it 10 minutes in advance, and you kind of have to let those play out. So it requires a bit of varying depth. It's hard to stick to a depth contour with all those factors. So right now we're kind of headed towards down this, around this this feature right here, and down towards A8. I don't think we'll get there without going pretty far down slope, but the idea now is to kind of get over towards it.
So Renee, would
thanks for that
you describe
explanation.
this as a wall in front of us?
What was that?
Or would you describe this as a wall in front of us?
It's pretty,
Is this a pretty steep slope?
it is a pretty steep slope. Yeah. Wall-like.
I've heard you all mentioning Dan and Jake and Rennie about that transiting around the steeps or the cliffs being a little bit trickier for the ROVs. Can one of you describe that? Why is it so much harder?
Well, a lot of it is, so we have a two-part ROV system. And so Hercules is free to kind of fly around on its tether. But Argus does not move on a XY plane freely. It's kind of just dangling from the back of the ship. So you can imagine some people have used analogies like, you know, try standing on a 2-story building with a string in your hand and a weight on the end and moving that thing around and trying to place it where you want to go, doing a maze with it. So that's kind of what's happening with Argus. So to move Argus in an XY direction, a horizontal plane, we have to move the ship. Argus can move its Z direction up and down by winching in or winching down. So in an ideal world, we're able to kind of, you know, have the setup we have right now where Hercules is out in front of Argus staring at a wall and we shift along it. But with all those factors I was just saying and the layback, it kind of ends up being Hercules will have to go and Argus will have to go down perhaps in order to see the wall. So they can't stay at this depth contour, or they'll have to go up so they don't run into the wall. And vertical walls only go for so high. So eventually they become, you know, either closer to you down at the bottom or further away from you as you go up. So as we do that, I'm going to call in another move. Think east.
Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, roger.
No stopping.
Bridge now. 50 meters east. Thank you. So in that move, getting us closer to this feature here, eventually we may have to go over it if we get too close and as we see that pendulum swing. And kind of try to do it, call these moves in advance, and there's not enough time to necessarily stop. So we kind of encountered that right at the beginning of the watch where they had found a coral that they wanted to collect and to stop the ship with the layback that you can imagine dragging a pendulum behind you through the water. We had to step the ship back 50 meters in order for Argus to be in position for Hercules to collect that coral. So, and that took at least 10 or 15 minutes.
That's a half an hour, however you look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are happy to stop and collect things and stop in general. It's just kind of like knowing that it's going to be a time sink. But it sounds like y'all on shore are pretty happy with moving along. So as Dan just mentioned, we're going to do our best to keep everything moving along, hit the waypoints, and hopefully still have good features, rocky features in front of us the whole time.
That sounds great, and thank you for that explanation. I think a lot of people can really relate to the weighted string off of a high skyscraper or building.
Yeah. All that being said, although it's challenging, it is fun to try to get this all to work.
Well, I guess that's why you're in the navigator chair.
I enjoy being stressed out.
So now I'm a guesser at this point.
Yeah, it's just really just guessing. I mean, they're informed guesses, but
Well, I will try not to make any fine movement requests. I think we all understand what we're going for, so we'll just keep on doing it.
yeah. And that being said, while we are waiting on moving around, you can feel free to ask to look at stuff, and we'll let you know if we have to keep moving.
So we have a scattering of sponges, white sponges, as in a descriptor, not a species name. And a variety of sea cucumbers.
We sure do. And sea cucumber identification is not my forte, but I think this is at least 2 different species, if not more.
We can call that Holothurian species unidentified.
So I see a couple more questions coming in. I'll answer one of them. Let's see where we left off. One comes from Kevin, living in Luxembourg. Does your team take rock and mineral samples? So we have collected many rocks over the years from Davidson Seamount. Volcanologists at MBARI, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, have been very interested in them. They have helped to identify what kind of seamount this is and also how old it is. So this seamount last erupted about 9.8 million years ago. And they were able to do that by aging the rocks. And I'm not a geologist, so I don't know exactly how they do that. But they do look at different mineral contents
Come
within
down
the
10 meters.
rocks.
10 meters. Roger.
Yeah, there's nothing under yet.
Yeah. So there's just a faint feature that I'm going to try to go over. I don't think we'll be able to, we may loop around it or just kind of go over it and follow the other side. It's my aim right now.
Great. Great. I love that you are our eyes to understand all this sonar and BAFI and maps and all of that. So thank you.
Sure, attempting. Is there a path that you'd like? So right now I'm planning, we're gonna kind of jump over to the other side of this feature here. I think getting down to A8 will be quite a bit downslope. So perhaps on the way to A9, I don't know if you want to follow north here or just go straight across to A9.
I think once we get to the top of this feature, if we can find the top, then we can mosey down in whatever safe way you think possible.
Sure.
If A8 is such a feature, we'd want to look at it, but then we can move on to A9. So we'll just play it by ear on what we're seeing in the video and the sonar, everything else.
Let's do another 30 meters east. Thank you. Yeah, I'm attempting to do that. So yeah, right. Yep.
We have a new invertebrate in the mix, a couple stalked crinoids on the left-hand side, the yellow ones. And a lot of sea stars.
So if my math is right, I have my app open on my phone here. We're moving half a knot, that's 15 meters a minute, right? And we're roughly 20 meters in front of Argus. So we have just over a minute to stop and look at something before Argus is on top of us. Is that right?
Sounds reasonable if we keep up half a knot.
Yeah.
And it'll depend on if we're going in a straight line or if I've curved it a bit.
Oh yeah, that's straight line math.
Yeah.
Roughly you have about a minute to stop and look at things, but then I have to make up for it. So I have to go move Hercules at a knot to get that 20 meters.
There's a large sea star staring at us in the center of the screen. That would be a nice zoom.
Acorn worm.
There, go ahead.
Football's coming right at my
Yeah, come up a bit. Yeah. That's a little too much zoom. Zoom out so I can see the whole animal. Thank you.
So I think that I'll be putting you on the other side of that mound.
That's great. I have not seen the sea star down here before, so that is nice. Thank you.
One deep sea star. Is that his children there too?
I don't think those two are related.
He's got 6
but
legs.
I could be
He's
wrong.
got 5
Yeah.
or 5 legs. I don't know if that means anything, but seems like it.
Yeah, it looks like we have 3 species of stars here. A brittle star down in the sand, down in the mud. Thanks for that.
I see we have another question from Sweden. Says, I am very interested in holotherdians, which are sea cucumbers. What species do you get where you are now? I have seen some nice red ones and some more spiny dark species.
045, you said?
So
yeah.
Right.
Going that way. It'll be a bit down, but.
So I'll list a couple of the species that we have seen at Davidson Seamount. In shallower depths, we've seen Solus squamatus. We see Paleopodides confundans, which is a really flat purple sea cucumber. We see some from the family Synallactidae. We see, I'm not good with these names, Onipharanta mutabilis, Peniagone scotoplanes, which is also called the sea pig. We see Panicia and benzodiazepines. So we see a whole bunch of different holothurenes down here. But I am not an expert, so my identifications are really rusty. Another question, this is maybe for the control van. Do you record audio at these depths, or are the exploration vehicles too loud for it to be of any use?
Yeah, we don't record audio from the depths. The vehicles are too loud and overpower anything we'd be interested in hearing.
Yeah, we've brought hydrophones down that were, on battery, but we have to place them and then drive away from them, and you can hear Hercules drive away. And then we, recover the vehicles, go back, and you can hear Hercules approach again in the audio recordings.
Yeah, they've done some studies on the radiated noise from underwater vehicles, and it's pretty noisy, pretty loud, and figuring ways to mitigate that is pretty difficult with like hydraulic systems and loud machinery.
There's a hydrophone in Monterey Bay, just outside Monterey Bay, and the acousticians are able to decipher earthquakes, ship noise. We can hear ROV noise when they're visiting the node there. And as soft as sound as rain, actually. You actually hear rain at the sea surface coming down to the depths, the deep sea. I'm amazed by that.
Pretty impressive.
Don't know how they do it. Yeah. And then, of course, there's whales singing every day. It's great, calming sounds to listen to if you're into that sort of thing. Just hear them singing and squealing.
Is that something that they have connected to shore constantly, or does it have to be collected every once in a while?
It is actually a live stream. You can get it on your computer, and it's if you Google MBARI listening room. It is the hydrophone is located at the end of the Mars cable, which is an experimental undersea platform that has a lot of equipment tied into it. There's like
Zoom in there, Steve.
Electrical plug out there. So the hydrophone is out there.
That's really cool.
You still happy with this speed, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're looking at a crinoid and a bamboo coral. The crinoid's the yellow one. We also have a cucumber on the left, and the dark thing, that ball behind the crinoid, is actually a foram, a really large foram. That is a single-celled organism called a xenophile core. It's amazing they can get that big. And then, of course, there's sea stars on the rock.
So it's going to be downhill for a while, is it?
Yeah, it should be hopefully not too steep downhill, and then a flat bit, and then hit another mound.
Roger, I'm going to probably let Argus get over me, and then I'll swing around.
Yeah, Roger.
Erica, we've been seeing a couple of different species of black coral. We had a nice zoom a moment ago. What was the black coral on the right?
The light-colored one, I wasn't exactly sure. The big feathering quill one, I think, was what used to be called Bathypathes, and now it's called Alternatipathes. Every once in a while, taxonomists will study things a little deeper, and they'll realize that they're in the wrong genus or species, so they switch names on us. So we have to keep us on our toes. But I wasn't sure of the other little one.
I think there might be the same one down here on the left. Low in this game.
This guy here?
Yeah, I think that might be the same as the one we were just talking about.
That might also be Alternatipathes.
Still Bathypathes in my heart.
I know, that's all I can say, Bathypathes.
Zoom in there a bit, Steve. This guy here into the left of the lasers.
Might not be the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, I think the one earlier had a couple of sprigs off of it or branches off of it,
Yeah.
which might have been,
You can do a pull-up zoom there, might help them. I don't know.
You want the
that
porch light on?
was the.
Sure.
So over the years, we've been visiting Davidson Seamount. We started to put together images and stick them into a guide. So you can view the online guide at the Monterey Bay, not the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary website. If you Google Davidson Seamount Guide, you can find it. And it's actually going through a long-term revision. I need to update it, but you can see some of the deep sea images and what we think the identifications are.
Both of your guides, the Cervidge and the Davidson, are fantastic.
Thanks. We have a technical question from Canada.
Okay, Steve,
Ryan
zoom out,
asks,
All right, so we're nearing the end of
Ryan
that
asks,
move. We are just, we're still about 100 meters laid back from the ship now, just because of that speed. So I can pause or I can keep going.
Keep going.
All right, well, it'll probably end up like 200 meters laid back, so we're gonna, that means like winching up if we encounter a wall.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Bridge nav.
200-meter laybacks, typical at half a knot.
Step 100
3,000 meters.
meters, 045. Yeah, figured. Oh, sorry about that. I know you were trying to get a question in.
it's okay. This is your moves are very important. But this question is for the ROV pilots. It's about Argus. What do you guys do to combat corrosion? Are there any cool cathodic protection systems at play?
Yeah, we have zinc anodes on everything. And we use aluminum and titanium and stainless steel. And nowadays a lot of plastics. But there is some steel on a rusty bit there at the front. Those are Alvin drop weights, so we can.
You just gave the suction sampler a rehab spray paint coating too. It was all rusty.
Can't wait to see that.
And we're kind of methodical with several products that we apply to any fasteners before we put them on the vehicle. So it's basically a marine grease that we apply to everything. Otherwise, we have a lot of problems with calcium carbonate forming in the threads and crevices and such. It makes it really difficult to get things apart or work on stuff.
How's Argus doing after all of its TLC the last few days?
Touch wood, so far so good.
You guys put a lot of time into that. That's pretty amazing.
You should be able to flip around now, Jake.
Roger.
There's a lot of sediment in these rocks.
I'm way up, Delta.
Not many fish at this depth.
I think these steep walls, it's a bit swift.
Yeah, I was going to actually add to that. It's not just about depth, but it's about habitat and the whole suite of species. Not suite of species, suite of factors.
Okay, coming down. Gonna be a little bad viz here coming down because we're thrusting down pretty hard and whatever debris on the vehicles coming up into the camera there.
It's okay. So there's a question about plastic studies. And Taylor Ann might be able to answer this after I make one comment. And the question is, have you found microplastics or other man-made contaminants inside of coral or sponge tissue? Out here, we haven't collected a whole lot of plastics yet within organisms. We have, I think, taken a sediment sample and found some, and also sediment, a sea surface water samples to see if there's microplastics, and they are a lot less than what we see near shore out here at Davison. But Taylor Ann, you might have some additional comments on that one.
Yeah, so we have seen microplastics inside of corals and sponges before, not necessarily maybe in this area, but there have been studies of these filter feeders and suspension feeders actually ingesting, I think mostly microfibers, but yes, they do ingest microplastics. They're ubiquitous throughout marine systems. So yes, it has been seen, and that's something that I'm looking at.
I'm surprised to see all these sea cucumbers. They tend to be, I thought, on flat, soft sediment habitats, but they seem to be interspersed in these rocky and sediment-filled rocky areas.
What's this texture on the rock to the left of the lasers right now? Anyone know without slowing us down?
I don't, unless it's dead sponge.
Sorry, the dead hetero, what do you call it? Heterocone.
Heterocone, okay,
I
yeah.
realized I
Sorry,
wasn't on SPL, just fumbling around.
Good eye, Kirsten.
just being a little bit higher up, I wasn't able to figure that out. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, I was kind of moved away from the cliff there as we're coming down, so I can't see what's underneath me when I'm close.
This might be a good question for everybody. It's a question from Japan, and it says, have you ever witnessed an underwater quake during your explorations?
Not that was visible, although I'm sure there have been some that have happened in the vicinity that we weren't able to see any evidence of. Looks like the slope's flattening out in front of Argus.
Roger.
It's one of those big tunicates, that sort of clear, bulbous,
Quick zoom on the
balloon-like looking.
tunicate there, Steve. They don't have to run away.
Looks like a Malamar.
Okay.
So some of these tunicates you've seen kind of like a Pac-Man mouth that are open, and some have been closed, which theoretically they would do after casting prey.
They are considered ambush predators, so they have that sort of fly trap opening, and when I guess it gets stimulated somehow, it shuts its hood and it traps the prey items, and they eat zooplankton and organic particulates. So there's a lot of marine snow coming down here in the deep sea, so they may be taking advantage of that.
I'm pulling you that hard?
Yeah, I'm getting spun pretty hard.
Me too.
Ship's coming to a stop here, but I think I'll hold while we get flipped around.
Keep going. Keep going.
All right.
I'll abandon this. Go.
Gotta get spun around.
Come back around to the, look to the north there again. Or however you were. Oh, yeah, south.
South?
Wherever it was looking at Herc.
Just
To your left.
I think I'll adjust course here to 025.
I'm just going to have some blue water here for a minute while I get Herc turned around and back under Argus.
Roger.
Come down. Down, down, down. Okay, you can hold it there.
I was waiting for that to happen.
And don't be scared of that tether. It's not going to hurt you. As long as it doesn't wrap.
Bridge now. $50 meters, 045. Thank you.
Oh, was that a ghostly grenadier?
Was.
It went by so fast I couldn't see.
I think so.
So how has the sound been holding up? I hear all of you clearly.
Not been that bad.
Yeah, have either of you been
We're wondering.
kicked off?
No.
That's good.
And when I'm not speaking, I put it on mute.
Fantastic.
Yep, same with me. I haven't been kicked off, and I've been muting as soon as I'm done talking.
Yeah, it's been sounding pretty good. Occasionally it starts to break up a little bit, but it hasn't been persistent. So I heard the last watch was really tough, so I think we've been fortunate so far.
Argus gives a
Good,
pretty good
let's hope it
idea where
stays.
we're at, sonar-wise, between two walls, slopes.
I think we have had a little better luck when Erica and I have been on consistently versus some of the other ships. So it may have with our individual connections.
Yeah.
You're at the end of your leash.
Yeah, sorry, I want to be. I need to slide this way a little. Okay, we're gonna come up pretty fast, all right?
All right. Ship's moving 045.
045. At some point I may have to go a bit more northwards.
Roger.
But it's looking like 4-5 is okay with that slope in Argus now. So
Come up with, stay 10 meters above me now.
Yep.
Here are a few of the yellow heterocone, possible heterocone sponges that we've been seeing that everybody is saying they don't really recognize. So that's pretty fun. We got some great images of that before.
Let's go on par just for now until Argus gets a little closer so you can, same delta as me. Same depth as me, sorry. 0 delta.
0 delta. Roger.
That means you gotta come, oh wait, I need to come up. Yeah, sorry.
Just gonna want to spin me around, right?
No.
Nope.
So progress-wise, sure, we're approaching A9 now. Kind of did a loop, tried to do a drive-by of A8 a bit. We're a bit north of it. All the shifting of things.
How far are we from the top here, judging by your fancy map over there?
Yeah, 10, 20. I think it's, I don't know, 80 meters tall.
Roger.
Hard to say where we are on the base of it, but somewhere near the base.
So we got to go up
It
80
looks,
before we go
Yeah.
horizontally 40.
based on the dive plan, it looks like our timing is really good.
Yeah, so if you just let us know if there's anything slowing down or speeding up or what have you, we will adjust accordingly.
Got a little slack there. You can probably get a little delta now.
It's a very sheer wall here.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff hanging
It
on
sure
it.
is.
Lots of sponges.
Well, the sponges are happy. They're not huge, but there's a bigger one. But it may be because of the angle that they can't get too big.
About 10 meter delta now.
Yep, I'm coming up.
Right here.
Erica, I don't know since we are quite a bit ahead of time, if you would want to consider taking any samples of these yellow sponges or prioritize other things on our list.
Yeah, we can consider that if the conditions warrant it or allow for it. I'm thinking of our big pendulum. So Dan maybe have some advice on when we should or shouldn't sample. But we are ahead of schedule, so we're not in a huge rush.
Okay.
But
I think
we are dictated by the ship, of course.
Yeah, we're still penduluming forward. We're going up this wall, but hopefully if we see something at towards the top, if there's more sponges up there, perhaps we can kind of keep an eye out, and that'll put us in a better position. We could also go back to this wall if you want to set up. It's a bit difficult, but can absolutely be done.
I like your feedback of waiting until we get to the top. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I think we'll find things.
Well, it's kind of
Starts to flatten out a bit, doesn't it? Yeah.
seems to flatten out. Yeah.
Yeah. So which direction are you? And there's still more featured. Still around 04. So I'm gonna go. That's hard to say.
Seems to be more to the north there.
More to the north.
Uphill.
Let's do.
At least for the moment.
Yeah.
Well, 030, I would guess.
Right. It's gonna do 15. Bridge nav. $50 meters, 030. Thank you. So it's hard to say how much further we'll get on the other side, but that'll be probably ideal.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes out for these bright yellow, sort of ruffly sponges.
Bright yellow, roughly sponges.
And also, if we come across a really diverse area with several or more sponges, corals, we'll probably want to trip a miskin, but that'll be when there's, 3 to 5 or more species of corals.
Sure.
There's a question for the ROV pilots. Can the end effector of your robotic arm be swapped out for a different grip or tool?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a whole drawer full of them.
We did that today. Took off the coral cutters and put on parallel jaws.
So I adjusted course north, thinking that will kind of head all that way.
Always cause for great debate among the ROV crew because everyone has their favorite end effector.
Right.
So.
And you really have to plan ahead because once you're down there, you can't swap it out. So you're either sampling one sort of thing or another, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this particular manipulator is doesn't have a tool interchange.
Some dives are pretty obvious that we'll need the coral cutters, and others are a bit more ambiguous. And if you're in a known area and that's your goal, put them on, but get burned if you're suddenly in sediment land trying to do a bunch of push cores.
So we have some beautiful pillow lava here, passing a dark purple anemone. We have some black corals here, the palm lake. White sponges.
Let's go downhill there.
Yeah.
So over the last few weeks.
I think you're probably right here.
Sure.
How's that? There you are.
Much better, thank you.
That's better.
We're laughing because tracking with the DVL on a USBL spread of 50 meters.
Yeah. 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 It's fun.
The DVL it doesn't lie except for when it can't see the bottom.
Oh, here's an interesting sponge.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we check that out?
Sure. We can zoom in there a bit. Perfect, thank you.
So I think that is a variety of Pharea sponge. I often call it the white ruffle sponge. The outside, which you can't really see, is where you really see the ruffles. Right now we're looking at the, I guess, the inside of it, or the inner surface of it. We show all these little holes. On the other side, they look like potato chips, and it is a crunchy sponge when we bring it up to the surface. Someone was asking today, was it like a Lay's potato chip or a Hawaiian potato chip? And I had to say, well, it's somewhere in between, but it all depends. But these sponges, I always think that they're going to be fluffy, soft things, but they're often crunchy. And this is a glass sponge, so there's glass spicules in here, and you can, if you handle them incorrectly, you could get, pricked a little bit. It's kind of like
Funny, you should liken this to a fried potato product, because when we saw those dead pieces on the ground, I was thinking waffle fries.
They do look like waffle fries.
A little bit when it was in the sediment. It may sound silly to hear scientists talk about things like that, but we're always trying to liken them to, we're observers, and we're trying to be descriptive so that we can say, the other one looks like this, and this one looks a little bit more, like discussion before between lace and ruffles on another Pharea sponge. And those, it may sound casual or non-scientific, but it can really be helpful when trying to determine differences between these things.
We're also always hungry.
There's that.
So I'm heading more north over this here, and then so science on shore, we're kind of roughly around A9. I'm kind of heading over this top flat part of it. We can adjust to, we're still seeing a lot of rockiness even on the flat top here. But if you want, we can alter however you want to get towards A10 or.
I think going over it is a great idea.
Okay, sure.
And for the public, as you remember, or may not remember, but we're looking for these brooding octopus in these vent systems, and they tend to be clean areas of rock, so the rock will look really black. And right now we're seeing a lot of sediment-covered rock. So to me, this probably is not brooding octopus habitat, but we could be surprised when we get to the top. We shall see.
That was a pillowy lava rock sticking out.
Come up a little faster.
Coming up.
There's a question that came in for the pilots. What are the temperature tolerance ranges for Hercules and Argus, and have you ever had any damage from thermal vents?
You're asking the right guy.
So, long list of sacrificed equipment in the name of science to get a sample.
Or a shot.
So you obviously experienced some temperature extremes. Where were those?
Oh yeah, from 0 to 400 C.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun, and especially Endeavour or any hydrothermal vents, but it's challenging to get in there and get a good. The scientists like a water sample right out of the vent. There's one of your yellow guys if you want to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, maybe we could take a look at it. Do we have time to snip off a piece, or would that take too long?
Yeah,
That can be like a 30-minute job. Or...
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure where it would go, but not where there's another sponge.
Let's hold position here.
Go ahead and zoom there, get a few shots. You want to laser off shot?
Yeah.
Can you zoom out, Steve? We don't have a lot of... I think you're all right, right?
If you could go for some lobes that are less degraded. Looks like you got some good ones in there.
Sorry, speak up a bit. Lobes that are less...
Degraded?
Right, so more at the top, or just pick up the whole thing
Well,
if
I
you want.
think down in the bottom area.
Down at the bottom.
Erica, what do you think?
Like in there?
I think it's not the best quality organism, so yeah, where you got it right there is looking
Yeah, we
good.
can skip if you're not, you don't like it.
No, I like it,
Yeah.
but you know, it's not the best organism. So wherever you, I think where you have it now looks great.
I do. Zoom right in if you want, Steve. Thanks. That enough there?
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Can you disable the...
Starboard. Vert.
Yeah, I don't know if this guy's going to float and set up the camera view and
Yep.
open the box. There's no samples in the box, is that correct? Or is there?
For the forward or starboard?
Starboard,
No, yeah, there's nothing in starboard.
nothing in there? Okay. That's the vert off, correct?
Vert's coming off now.
You want to salvo me and open that box? We'll put this guy in 8.
Jaws are much easier to get in the box.
What's that?
These jaws are much easier to get in the box than those coral cutters.
Yeah. Come on.
Oh, no, you're right. Thanks, that was a good catch.
Okay, close, close,
Mine's
close.
on the last one.
Closing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
I wasn't sure if it was
No, it's
because we're doing that makeup dive.
Can I turn that vert
it's
back
definitely a
on
1,
too?
2,
Yeah.
3
Yep.
sample.
Coming back on.
I think we'd probably sort it out, but
Yeah.
good to be consistent. And that was 26?
Yes, sample number 26.
Got it. All right. Nice work. I think I'll go 020. bridge nav.